Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amira Antasya binti Abu Hassan, and today I would like to present the case of law of cybersecurity Muhammad Fahmi Reza bin Muhammad Zahrin versus Pendakwa Raya 2017. The case was occurred at High Court Kuala Lumpur, case number 44/103/08 2016. Next, we will talk about the fact of the case. On 31st January 2016, Muhammad Fahmi Reza bin Muhammad Zahrin, using an Instagram profile under the name Kuasa Siswa, has alleged posted communication that was considered false and intent to offend or hurt others' feelings. The post was accessible via a specific link on Instagram, and it was reportedly read on 1 February 2016 at 6 p.m. at an address in Puchong, Selangor. Fahmi was then charged under Section 2331/A of the Communications and Multimedia Act of 1998 (CMA), which criminalized the use of network services to knowingly create or transmit false communication with the intent to annoy, abuse, threaten, or harass others. The offence carries penalties under Section 233/3 of the CMA, which includes fines or imprisonment. The defence filed a motion in the High Court to dismiss the charge, claiming that Section 233/1/A of the CMA was unconstitutionally. The defence argued that the provision violated the following articles of Federal Constitution: Article 5.1, Right to Life and Personal Liberty; Article 8, Equality before the law and protection from discrimination; Article 10/1/A, Freedom of Speech and Expression. Next, the defence also argued that the charge lacked clarity as it did not specify the individuals who were offended or harmed by the communication. Now, we will talk about the issue of the case. The first issue of the case, whether Section 2331/A of the Communication and Multimedia Act (CMA) is unconstitutional, as it has been contended that a denial of fundamental rights to free speech is in violation of the Federal Constitution. Section 233/1/A criminalizes the use of online platforms such as social media to send false or offensive communications that may cause distress to others. In this case, the accused was charged with using Instagram to post a communication intent to offend or distress others. The defense argues that Section 2331/A violates freedoms of speech by imposing excessive restrictions on what individuals can post online, thereby violating constitutional protections. Additionally, the defense claims that Section 2331/A is overly vague and overly broad, making it susceptible to abuse and potentially violating the right to personal liberty by restricting free speech unnecessarily. Second issue, whether Section 2331/A of CMA is constitutes censorship, which could be contrary to the objectives of the CMA itself. The defense argued that by bringing charges against people pursuant to Section 233/1/A, the stated in effect has a chilling effect on free speech by restricting the public from openly voicing themselves freely on platforms such as Instagram, even if such expression is not intended to cause any harm. They claim that the prosecution, as in the current case, is nothing less than an attempt to hose down online speech, which itself may pave the way to even greater censorship in the guise of controlling offensive content. The next issue, whether the charge against the accused is defective as it fails to specify the individuals who were alleged offended by the post. Defense alleged that because of the lack of information, there is lead and a lack of specification and deficiency that do not justify the standard of regulation that is required to sustain a criminal allegation. Number 4, whether the High Court has the jurisdiction to resolve the constitutional issue presented in the case or to refer the matter to the federal court. On the other hand, the defense claims that the High Court has inherent jurisdiction to decide constitutional questions directly and that the case involves important constitutional issues that need to be resolved at this stage. The prosecution argues that only the federal court has the jurisdiction to determine constitutional questions and that the High Court should refer such matter as outlined in Section 30 and 84 of CJA. Next, we will talk about the judgment of the case. Judgment number 1. Constitutionality of Section 2331-A of CMA 1998. The High Court examined that the constitutional challenge regarding Section 2331-A of the CMA 1998, which criminalized the transmission of offensive or false communications via digital platforms like Instagram. The defense argued that the provision violated the federal constitutions, particularly Articles 5.5/1, 8, and 10.1/A. The High Court noted that while the right to freedom of speech is guaranteed under Article 10, this right is not absolute and can be subject to reasonable restriction. The court held that Section 2331-A was not unconstitutional as it sought to prevent harm to individuals and public order, which falls under the permissible limits set by Article 10.2 of the Federal Constitution. The law was deemed to be a reasonable limitation on free speech, particularly in the digital age where communications can be far reaching and potentially harmful. The second judgment of the issue, censorship. As the defense argued that the law was censorship and as such, it was threatened the CMA's mission of free speech on the internet. The High Court was divided, stating that the law should be applied to the regulation of harmful content itself, but not to the restriction of free speech. The High Court rejected this argument, noting that CMA does not grant an absolute right to freedom of expression and that it permits reasonable regulation to prevent harm such as defamation, hate speech, and threats. The law was not intended to censor speech but to regulate harmful content, ensuring that the right to free expression does not infringe upon others' right or public order. Next judgment of the case, charge deficiency. The High Court ruled that the charge was sufficient because it focused on the harmful nature of the communication, not on identifying specific individuals. The High Court ruled that the charge was not defective. The court held that the law does not require specific identification of the persons offended. It focused on the intent of the communication and its potential to harm public peace or individuals' rights. Last but not least, we have the analysis and the critique of the case. Defense claimed that the charge was too general because of the absence of specification for victim designation. The court upheld the charge in the terms of offensiveness of the communication and without any attribution of the victim. Second analysis, censorship and consent. The defense argued that the law amounted to the censorship. The court disagreed, saying it regulates harmful content, yet the width of the legal jurisdiction and the law's reach will have chilling effect on freedom of speech and is deeply amenable to being used to silence thought. Constitutionality of Section 2331-A of CMA. According to the court, this law is constitutional as it regulates what is impermissible to communicate negatively but allows some reasonable limits of how much it is permissible to communicate freely. Nevertheless, both language of the law such as offensive or false is potentially subject to misuse and may even hinder rightful expression. That's all from me. This is my reference of the case. Thank you to all and have a good day.